Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. My name's Hannah and on this channel I post a lot of anti-MLM content, and as always I'll link a playlist right here for you and in the description box down below. This is my big anti-MLM playlist, almost 130 videos on it at this time. And if this content is really interesting to you, valuable to you, intriguing to you, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, liking this video. If you're feeling a little bit crazy, you can leave a comment as well. All of those things really help to support my channel and I appreciate you so much for doing that. For today I'm bringing you another MLM horror stories video. These are the personal experiences that people have had with MLM companies that they write out and they send to me. If at any time you do have your own MLM horror story that you would like to have considered for a video, you can send it to me. The instructions for how to do that are in the description box of every single one of my videos. So without further ado, let's jump into these stories. This story says, "Hi Hannah, long-time listener, first-time caller. This is the story of how I became a presenter for Unique and why I left and the guilt I still carry with me today. I live in the UK, and when an American Unique presenter, a friend of a friend, contacted me about joining, I didn't know much about MLMs other than it was best if you joined early. The company was about to open registration in the UK in November of 2014, and I knew that this would be the best time to hop on board. Ding ding ding, red flag number one. If you know that it's the best time to hop on board when the company comes to your country, that is a huge indicator of something that's kind of like a pyramid scheme, because timing is of the utmost importance. If you can be one of those very first people to get involved, then you're going to have the biggest recruitment pool you're ever going to have. And of course, that's important for these MLM companies because recruitment is the way you climb in the ranks. Recruitment is how you make the most money. Building a team and recruiting people under you is the most lucrative thing you can do in an MLM company. And so, of course, knowing that, timing is of the essence and you want to get in as early as you can. So the best chance you have at success when you hear that an MLM is coming to your country is to join immediately. So be on the lookout for that. If you hear of some kind of new opportunity that's new in your country and you want to join right now because this is the best opportunity you're ever going to have, that is a huge red flag that it's going to be more about recruitment than it really is about selling any kind of product. Once agreeing, my soon-to-be upline added me to a dozen Unique Facebook groups. The main page was run by Unique and there were so many comments like, "We're launching in the UK, we're going to change so many lives. Those British women are so lucky, they get to join right at the start." And it made me feel reassured that this was a good decision. All the other presenters seemed so supportive and positive, I wanted to be a part of that. The first month as presenter was actually quite easy. I recruited a few women across the UK through discussion boards like NetMums. Most were already in an MLM, but I pitched the idea that this one was brand new to the UK and selling and recruiting would be easier with Unique. Exactly. In addition, the mascara sold really well. It was right before Christmas and I was able to sell a lot to men looking for a present for their wives or girlfriends or even daughters. The first month I sold about £1,000 worth of mascara. I had a team and I ranked up very quickly. After the first couple of months, however, things were not going well. Sales dropped off, other presenters were popping up in my town competing with me for sales, and then my downline weren't achieving my success. And were getting upset. I became obsessed with saving my business. Looking back now, it's such a red flag. Why did I put myself through this? So what it sounds like happened here is you joined right at the beginning like you were told to do. Your recruitment pool was the biggest it's ever gonna be. You built a team, you were making great sales right before the holidays. But then as time goes on, it's really hard to maintain that same level of recruitment and sales, especially when it's booming right up front, right when you first join. It's hard to get to that level, but it's even harder to stay at that level for any kind of extended period of time, especially now that the holidays are gone and more presenters are popping up in your local area and you're all in direct competition with one another. That's something that always gets me about MLMs and something that signals that this really isn't about sales and that it's really not a legitimate sales opportunity, because if it was, you wouldn't want to recruit so many people to come and be a salesperson too. You would want to keep the number of salespeople low so that your market isn't oversaturated and you have more salespeople than you do customers. That's why there's all kinds of regulations around franchises. That's why you can't have one McDonald's right across the street from another McDonald's. It's really bad for business if you're opening up multiple locations in the same area because you might be oversupplying for the demand that that area has. And what's so funny to me is that MLM companies don't care about that. The more people that they can get on board, the better. The more sales salespeople, the better. They don't give any regard to the geographical area or the supply and demand. And that's a huge red flag and a huge signal that it's not about selling. It is about recruiting. Every morning, I would check my back office to see my group sales. I would try and host dozens of online parties on Facebook, but never had a sale. I was on tons of messaging boards trying to find new presenters. It was so stressful. In this time, my downline became concerned with the products. Customers were reporting cases of eye infections due to the mascara. With advice from my upline, I advised that these were not due to unique products, but rather knockoffs from other companies. Our mascara uses green tea fibers, so it was impossible that it was Unique's fault. I later found out that this was not the case. The next red flag was the Punique incident. A woman on Facebook tried the foundation test. Draw on your face with black permanent marker, then cover it with the Unique foundation. Supposedly the foundation was full coverage and the marker would be gone. This didn't work, and she wrote Punique on her forehead and mocked the company. Almost immediately, the top presenters were telling us to share this woman's post with the comment, "Thanks for the free advertising. Our revolutionary foundation is now sold out thanks to your post going viral." Problem was, we were sold out before this incident. When the foundation launched, all the presenters bought it all within the first few days. I hadn't sold any foundations due to this post, so what were they talking about? No one outside of the presenters were interested in our foundation. This is when I finally started to doubt the company and the messages from the top presenters. Absolutely. This is like red flag number 10 in this story, I feel like. But when your upline is now telling you, lean into the criticism and make it appear like it's doing something good for you when it's not, that's a form of deception. Because what other defense do you have? If someone on the internet who's not affiliated with Unique is proving to you that the product doesn't perform the way it claims, what are you supposed to do other than try and flip it and claim that thanks to this advertising, now our product is sold out? The way it feels to me is they're just like lying to try and cover up previous lies, and eventually you just dig yourself into this hole you can't get out of, and people start to question it. People start to see this behavior and start to wonder, like, why am I being pushed or advised to start making false claims? Is that what I have to do to sell the product now? And it just starts to feel really icky, and people quit on that basis. The straw that broke the camel's back. In September of 2015, Unique was launching in Germany and France. I knew this was an opportunity for me to recruit a new downline, as most of mine had quit. I posted on German discussion boards and successfully recruited a single young mother who spoke English. She spent about 99 pounds on a kit and tried to sell the mascara. She didn't sell any. She would message me asking for help, and I didn't really know what to say. She was young, she was alone with a toddler, she just spent all that money, which she likely couldn't afford, and she had nothing to show for it. After 3 months, if you don't meet your quotas, Unique drops you as a presenter. She never made a single sale and was dropped. I never said goodbye, and I never saw another post, message, or comment on Facebook from her again. I never apologized, and I still feel so terrible. I can't even remember her name now. I recruited her for my own financial gain to build my business. I had turned into this self-absorbed monster, and I didn't recognize myself. I know I don't deserve her forgiveness. I can only hope that her and her daughter are okay and that she never joined another MLM again. I am now a staunch anti-MLM supporter. I try everything I can to deter friends and acquaintances from joining any MLM. It is a toxic business model, and it should be made extinct. In conclusion, thank you for being so kind. Thank you for helping others when there isn't a financial benefit to yourself. If you can spare anyone at all from this experience, then the world owes you a great debt. The guilt hurts me so much, and I'm in tears writing this because I wronged that young woman. I wronged my entire team. Again, thank you for being a good person and calling out these companies. You're braver than most. And I kind of want to flip this because I owe you, the viewer and the writer of this story, a huge thank you as well, because without these stories, without people taking such a huge interest in this topic and actually watching these videos, this channel would not have grown to the extent that it has, and the word wouldn't be getting out as much as it has as well. I look at it more like a team effort here. Like, I have almost 1,000 horror stories in my inbox that are unread right now. And I think that's the coolest thing that I owe you a huge thank you for, because if I didn't have these stories, I couldn't make this video and we couldn't be having these conversations. And I think it's really respectable that you're able to look at this story and look at your history with this company and recognize where you may have made some wrong turns and to own up to that and to take responsibility for that. But it's also worth mentioning, as I always try to do, that you were just acting in the ways that you knew you had to act if you were going to be quote unquote successful in the company. You were simply just doing what you were advised to do in the sense of recruiting people and selling a mascara and trying to find people in these new countries that it was launching in. All of that is exactly what you're supposed to do in an MLM. That's how people rank up. That's how they make it to the top. That's where the money is made. And I always find it kind of entertaining to think about it in this way, that people who feel like they quote unquote failed at an MLM actually did exactly what they were supposed to do. They were actually perfectly successful in that MLM, because what you're supposed to do is join the company and recruit other people to keep the scheme going. So if you did that, congratulations, you were successful in keeping the scheme running. But I'm sure that those things are really hard to acknowledge and come to terms with after the fact when you're kind of looking at this in hindsight. So I want to thank you for taking the time and for being so brave to write out this story and send it in, and for giving me permission to share it on this platform. I think that the stories that come from people who have been in the company themselves are the most powerful, because you have that firsthand experience, you have that firsthand knowledge, and you're able to kind of confirm a lot of the concerns that I bring up in these videos. And you're able to confirm, like, yeah, that really is how it goes down. That really is what we had to do. This really is how it left me feeling after the fact. And that's what's so powerful. So thank you for sending in this story. This story says, "Hey Hannah, I found your page just 2 weeks ago and have spent all of my free time binge watching your content. As a girl in Utah, MLMs are absolutely rampant, and I love watching your videos to validate my feelings about getting constant hey hun DMs. I appreciate the work and the kindness that you put into your videos. Sending you prayers and good vibes as you navigate whatever challenges you're facing right now. If you ever decide to get back on YouTube, I hope this story helps give you some good content. If you decide to step away, just know that you have thousands of people rooting for you in whatever you choose to do next." Thank you for saying that. That tells me that this story came in sometime probably in October or September, when I took a huge unplanned absence from YouTube because I was so sick with my morning sickness and stuff. I am back. I have no plans to leave anytime soon, but thank you for your kind words. My horror story is not about someone recruiting me to sell for an MLM. It is about someone using essential oils to cure me against my will. Please keep me anonymous because I know several people deep into MLMs right now. The story begins when I was 19. After completing my first year of college, I chose to serve a religious mission for my church. In my church, when you serve a mission, you are assigned to a random state or country, and you are assigned a random teaching companion to live with, teach with, and serve with, anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months at a time. I was sent to Southern California on my mission and was assigned to teach with a girl who was notoriously difficult to work with. She often threw tantrums, started fights, and used religion to manipulate the people around her. Sounds lovely. She rarely stayed with a single teaching companion for more than a few days because she was so hard to work with. Let's call her Caitlin. Caitlin and I were assigned to work together for nearly 4 months. During this time, I learned that her family often struggled to make ends meet. As missionaries, we committed to sharing our beliefs full time, which meant that we did not have jobs or any way to make money while we were missionaries. Typically, missionaries would rely on personal savings or their families to meet their needs while they spread the good word. If Caitlin ever needed new clothes or shoes or extra money for any reason, her family really struggled to provide those things. So our church would step in and help her meet her needs. I even helped cover her groceries with my personal savings if she needed it, which she did fairly often. What was weird about this, though, was that every month without fail, Caitlin would get a package from her mom full of doTERRA supplements, oils, deodorants, creams, and toothpaste. She was religious about using their products. She took 7 to 10 essential oil pills every morning before we would leave our apartment. She used the doTERRA crystal deodorant and nothing else, which is unfortunate because that stuff did not work. It was literally just some crystal that she would rub on her armpit, and our apartment reeked of BO constantly. And she would always carry around at least one oil in her bag in case she needed any pain or stress relief. I thought it was strange that her family could afford to send her hundreds of dollars of doTERRA products every month, but couldn't afford to send her new shoes. But to each their own. I had bigger things to worry about. About 6 weeks after Caitlin and I were assigned to teach together, things got rough. She would often berate me about little things I did that she didn't like. She would roll on the floor crying if she didn't get what she wanted, and the people we had been helping out asked us not to visit them anymore because of her behavior. Understandably, I started getting really bad stress headaches and stomach aches from having to work with her all day, every day. When they were especially bad, I would spend parts of the day in bed and sleeping. At first, Caitlin asked if I wanted to try any of her essential supplements to cure my ailments. I politely declined as I felt that ingesting oils might worsen the stomach aches. I think that's a safe assumption. That's how I would also feel too. At first, she was fine with it. Then she started offering to let me use her special oil blends to help. Again, I said I wasn't interested. I liked the way the oils smelled when she diffused them, but I didn't want to have any kind of allergic reaction if they were put on my skin. That just wasn't the right answer, I guess, because before I knew it, I would wake up to her rubbing my feet with essential oils, rubbing my ears with essential oils, dropping oils on my forehead, and reading to me about what the oils would do for my body. Excuse me, lady, please don't touch me. No matter how many times I told her I was not interested in using her products or how often I told her she did not have permission to touch me, she would not stop. You're kidding. Did you have anybody that you could go to be like, look, this lady's touching me while I'm sleeping. I am not comfortable with it. She's using essential oils on me to try and cure me without my consent, and it's kind of weird. And she throws tantrums. How old is this girl? All of this is so strange to me. This is super inappropriate behavior. This is not okay for her to be doing, especially without your consent and while you're sleeping. All very creepy to me. Not normal behavior, I'll tell you that. Even after telling her repeatedly I was not interested, she moved from using oils to help me when I was sick to dropping oils all over me for every little thing. If I was singing in the shower and she didn't like it, I would wake up the next day to her rubbing the calming blend on me to settle me down so that I didn't have to sing in the shower. If I was assertive about certain decisions, she would diffuse special oils to stop my anger, and so on. She would even preach to me about how Jesus created these oils for us to use to our benefit, and he delights when we make use of his creations. No. He created a lot of things, but that doesn't mean I need to rub them all over my neighbor, okay? After about 3 weeks of this nonsense, I lost it. It took you that long? I would have lost it after the first day, I feel like. This is insanity. After freaking out at her about the constant oils and unconsenting foot rubs, she finally got the message and stopped pushing oils on me because I was well past my breaking point. She had not only put her untested, unregulated oils all over me, but she had used her oils as a way to attack any part of me that she didn't like. If my hair didn't sit right, I needed to take a certain supplement to fix it. If I ate too much or too little, she would comment about what oil would help. If I spoke up to defend myself, I needed to take deep breaths of whatever blend she thought would help my anger issues. It was so degrading and manipulative. I can't believe I lived with this girl for 4 months because it felt like 40 years. Since moving back to Utah after my mission, I still occasionally see posts from Caitlin, and she and her family are still selling doTERRA. And they are still struggling financially, which makes sense because that's how MLMs work. It makes me sad to see that she doesn't envision herself doing anything else with her life because she is so bought into the idea that these products will one day make her successful. I wish her all the best, but boy am I grateful that I don't have to live with her and her stinky crystal armpits anymore. Thanks again for everything you do. I love your channel and wish you only the best. Wow, this story, this is probably one of the more entertaining stories I've ever read and one of the more outrageous stories I've ever read for sure. I don't think I've ever heard of someone applying a product to you while you sleep or like dousing you in oils when they don't like something about you. It's very bizarre. There's something going on here, and I have a feeling it might be deeper than just the MLM. I'm not sure. I don't want to diagnose anybody with anything, but I do think that the involvement with doTERRA and her deep belief that these oils can do all these kinds of things, I don't think that that is a very healthy environment for her to be living in, or a healthy headspace for her to be in, because clearly putting oils on someone's head isn't going to get rid of their anger issues, as if you had anger issues. Rubbing a crystal on your armpits isn't going to get rid of your BO. Dropping oils on your head isn't going to get you to stop singing in the shower. Like, it's all so bizarre to me. And props to you for dealing with that for as long as you did, because like many people before you, I'm sure I would have been one of those that said, I'm out after a few days. But the one part I do want to point out about your story that pertains to MLM specifically is that it's interesting that she seems to be having some financial problems within her family, but yet her family does have the money or the means to be sending her lots of doTERRA products. And what that tells me is that someone in her family is trying to be a consultant for doTERRA, trying to make a business out of it, and they are likely spending a lot of their own money to try and hit quotas. To hit quotas and maintain or achieve ranks in doTERRA, you can hit those not just by selling, but also by purchasing. So what this feels like to me is that in an attempt to rise in the ranks or keep the ranks or be otherwise successful in doTERRA, they're placing a lot of orders for products for personal use, and they're just trying to kind of pawn them off and use them in any way they can, which explains why they would be sending their daughter a whole bunch of doTERRA stuff every month. And that's really sad. That signals to me that they're not doing as good financially in the company as they were probably hoping to do, and that they are likely spending more of their own money than they're getting out of it. Thank you for sending this story in. This is a highly, highly entertaining one for sure. This story says, Dear Hannah, first, I love your channel and how well-researched and fact-based your content is, while remaining compassionate about those who are essentially victims of the MLM companies that prey upon them. I would like to remain anonymous, as my parents and their social circle are still in the business. This is pretty long, and I had to generalize a bit due to how long ago this was and the sheer volume of stories I could tell, but I hope you will still read this. I decided to share because I think it will be cathartic for me to tell my story to like-minded individuals, and I'm hoping that a different perspective might hit possible victims differently. You see, I was an Amway kid. My parents became independent business owners, also known as IBOs, when I was around 10 or so. 30 years later, they are still involved and still haven't passed the rank of platinum, which is the first big milestone. I can't speak much to the actual money side of it all, as I was not privy to my parents' budget and banking info, but I'm hoping this fresh perspective from someone close to the business for so long will be enlightening. I'm shocked that your parents have been in it for 30 years, 3 decades of their life they've been in Amway. That is almost unbelievable to me. And the fact that they haven't even met this first big milestone that you said of platinum. Let this be a lesson to us all that apparently you can be in an MLM for 3 decades and still not make it anywhere or make it to the top. That's insane. As a kid, I remember the days before the internet when my parents were encouraged to have a stock of products stored in our basement. Orders were made once a week through a bizarre phone tree where your downline would call you with their orders, and you would compile them and call in your order to your upline. Then you would gather the products a few days later, and your downline and customers would have to come to your house to pick everything up. I was even hired a few times to do these tasks for my mom if they had to be out of town. Now, of course, everything is ordered online, but they push ditto delivery, claiming it will be so helpful by anticipating when you will need products and automatically shipping them to you. This is, of course, just a way to ensure you order products regularly without even thinking about it. I watched the rise and fall of Amway trying to transition to Quickstar to rebrand themselves when they expanded into the online market. They have since given the name up, but definitely try to compare themselves to other online companies like Amazon. Truth is, while their product websites are okay, all of their back office programs are terrible. My parents were in a segment of Amway called Worldwide Dream Builders, which is very prevalent in the Midwest. Worldwide Dream Builders had their own email system, and the interface for which is slow and lacking in features. Even searching by sender is painful. And they have a voicemail system called Communicate, or Kate for short, so you will never miss any motivational messages or team info. All of this is, of course, an extra investment into your business and has a cost on top of your Amway membership. Not that you're allowed to criticize their systems, it doesn't matter which of the products it is, they are all absolutely the best in their market category. You can't purchase any competitor's products because that would jeopardize and undermine your business. Everything that could be bought through Amway has to be bought through Amway. I've heard this for sure because Amway has such a vast product market. They have everything from personal care products to nutrition products to cleaning products to different kinds of home products. It's truly insane how wide their product market spreads, and it kind of gets to the point where everywhere you look and every kind of product you use in your home on a regular basis, Amway sells it, and you are going to be expected to start transitioning out your old products for Amway stuff. And in my opinion, this kind of pressure to start transitioning everything to Amway is a huge way that the company actually makes money. And that's a huge indicator that the reps of the company are the primary customer of those products. Because who out there not affiliated with Amway in any kind of way is going out there and buying Amway laundry detergent, Amway pots and pans, Amway toilet paper? You're not going to do that. You're going to go to Costco or Sam's Club like most people do to buy these kinds of things in bulk. So that just signals to me that Amway reps are the main customer, and that's the biggest way that their products sell. There were even stories some of the higher-ups told in their speeches with pride about going to meetings at downlines' homes, poking through their bathroom cabinets, and then throwing shade on them indirectly during the meetings. For example, if you want to be serious about this business, you need to replace all your non-Amway products, such as if you're still using X cleaning product. I did middle school science projects that were really just one of the demos that Amway encourages to show that their products are superior to store brands, such as filling jars with water and laundry detergent and putting a nail in the bottom as an illustration of how Amway's superior soap will protect your washing machine from rusting. They also had one where they dropped their vitamins and a competitor's into apple cider vinegar, saying that it was the closest thing to stomach acid. This was supposed to show how their vitamin broke down right away and the competitors sat inert, concluding that your body can't even break it down to use it. This, of course, ignores the entire rest of the digestive process, including bile, pancreatic enzymes, and the motion of your digestive tract. And the fact that the coating is designed not to break down in the stomach so that some of the nutrients are not destroyed by the stomach acid before they can be absorbed by the body. More recently, their tests include showing how their extra oxygenated perfect water, is that a name of one of their products? I'm looking this up. Okay, this really is a thing. The Perfect Empowered Drinking Water, sold by Amway. I just gasped because I saw that this was $51, but then I read the fine print. That's for 24 bottles, but still 24 bottles for $51. I'm reading the product details for this perfect water that Amway sells, and it says a refreshing drinking water infused with MBO, a proprietary process that stabilizes oxygen in the water. It uses a 15-step purification process to remove contaminants and ensure purity, is purified, remineralized, ironized, microstructured, and oxygen-rich. Infuses each bottle with molecular-bound oxygen, which enhances bioavailable oxygen. What is going on here? What is this? I can only imagine the kinds of health claims that Amway reps are making about this quote-unquote perfect water. I've never heard of this before. Anyway, continuing on with the story, it says, more recently, their tests include showing how their extra oxygenated perfect water improves balance by tugging on someone's arm to try and unbalance them, then having them drink some of the water and repeat the experiment. Unsurprisingly, the second time, their body is more prepared to combat the imbalance. Now that I have a degree in a science-based field, these experiments are almost comical to me as they are so badly done. Wait, okay, so if I'm getting this correct, the experiment to show how great their water is you tug on someone's arm, make them become unbalanced, then they drink the water and you tug on their arm again and they're not as unbalanced? Is that what we're saying here? Is that the experiment? I have no words for this. I don't even know what to say. I'm just going to keep reading. As a teen, I had to use Amway's skincare and hair care lines because obviously of the 3 options they had for each, one would be perfect for my skin and hair type. Spoiler, they're not. I was also pushed by my mom into using their meal replacement products as a dieting tool. Quite frankly, it's lucky I didn't develop a complex from being encouraged to use diet shakes as my lunch in high school for a while. My mom even tried to get me to use their anti-aging serum as a teen because using it early would be extra beneficial. My parents will still credit Amway products for their health and youthful looks. It couldn't possibly be due to the fact that they eat healthily and exercise daily. Must be the expensive supplements and skin serums. Let's not forget the tapes and books. Worldwide Dream Builders told all of their independent business owners that if you were really dedicated to building this business, you have to use the training tools they recommend, most of which were produced by Worldwide Dream Builders and were an additional cost per month. Fancy that. So convenient. They were cassette tapes back then that we were constantly playing in our house or in the car, teaching them how to recruit more successfully or just motivating the listener by having the speaker tell their rags to riches story. You can do it too. There was a reading list with a new required book every month, and my parents were encouraged to buy extra copies to share with their downline if they couldn't afford it. Books like The Greatest Salesman in the World, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Power of Positive Thinking, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, etc. And all of these were pushed as being necessary if you are really serious about this business. It's an investment in your future and you'll learn so much. Then there were the meetings. Multiple nights a week, they would either send us to bed early because they were having a pitch meeting at our house, or they would be meeting with their group elsewhere. I'm sure they liked inferring that our house was nice all because of the business, when in reality, my dad had a fairly lucrative career and little school debt. Quarterly were the big weekend-long rally-type seminars, which they would sometimes have to travel a distance to attend. I was even brought to a few when I got older. They were essentially just the same info you would hear on the tapes, but first they would sing their hype songs and have recognition ceremonies, etc. Most of the songs were originals by people in Amway and had titles like, quote, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and quote, No Excuses. The CDs and other merch from this band would of course be for sale at these meetings. Look up the Goads, okay? The Goads? Okay, it looks like this is like a band or a musical group that writes songs about Amway. This is something I've never heard of before. Here's a song called I'm Going Diamond. Here's a song called Some Will, Some Won't, So What? Here's one called Fired Up. I don't know what to say about this. I know what I'm doing in my free time this evening. I will be watching these videos and listening to these songs. So what this is all screaming to me, the meetings, the singing of the songs, the conferences, the motivational material in the form of CDs or books that you're required to read, all of these kinds of things, in my opinion, are a form of brainwashing. And their intent is to make the reader or the listener believe that with some kind of particular mindset or some sort of outlook on the world, that they will be able to receive whatever they desire out of the business. The scheme only thrives and it only continues to survive if people join the business and stay in the business. And that's why they have all these different kinds of like self-help materials that you're supposed to engage with, to make you falsely believe that you really are in control of your own success here, when that's really not the case. The way you're successful is you find people to recruit or sell to, and that's not up to you. You can't make people join. You can't make people buy your product. You can pitch to as many people as possible to increase the likelihood of these things happening, but at the end of the day, you are out of control. You don't really have any control at all at how successful you can be in these companies. That's why timing matters the most, so that you can have the biggest pool of people to recruit from or sell to. And that's why self-help materials are so prevalent in these companies, to make people falsely believe that they have some kind of control. And that if they just have the right mindset or they just hustle hard enough, that they will see the success that they are after. Finally, there was the mental toll it took on me. The segment of Amway they belonged to was highly wrapped up in the health and wealth gospel, which now I find so toxic. This is based in the belief that God wants to bless you both monetarily and through your health because he loves you. My parents and then us kids were encouraged to speak what you want, and that voicing negative emotions would in some some way cause negative things to happen in your life. So my parents would constantly dream build, talking about trips, material possessions, etc., as if they were a sure plan. Because I was a kid, I believed what my parents would tell me, leading to disappointment and disillusionment. This environment also only promoted one path in life: marriage, children, becoming a stay-at-home mom, etc. The dream was that the wife would be home with the children and would not have to work. Because of this, I didn't really consider what I wanted for a career, because I sort of assumed that any work I did would be temporary, as our business would support us. As a result, I ended up wasting a lot of time at a job I didn't love before having to think about what I really wanted for my life. It took over a decade for me to strip my mind of this thinking and consider my own goals and dreams. Now I have a job I love. Is it perfect? No, but nothing is. It does give me a sense of fulfillment and the ability to expand my knowledge and grow. The stay-at-home life is just not for me. Thank you for saying this. Thank you so much for this paragraph. This is probably the most important thing of your whole story so far, and that is, in the MLM culture, they really do push this get married, have kids, and then stay home with those kids while your business provides for you in your lifestyle, which, as we know, is not the case for most people who join. Most people lose money when they join an MLM. Very, very few people actually make anything at all. But I've personally always been very perplexed by this, because I recognize that not everybody wants to be a stay-at-home mom. That's not everybody's dream. Some people really do like leaving their house every day, going and doing a job they love, something that has the potential to fulfill an aspect of their life that's not always necessarily monetary. Sure, your job can be something that provides for you financially, but a lot of times people really do enjoy their jobs as well, and it gives them other senses of fulfillment too. And I think this whole idea that every woman out there would just love to have a bunch of kids and would just love to stay at home with them and would just love to be in an MLM where their business is supporting them, it's always been extremely confusing to me, because personally, I've never really envisioned myself as a stay-at-home mom. I've always envisioned myself as being a career woman of some kind. My whole life I wanted to be a teacher. I went to college, I got my master's, I have my teaching certificate. That was the path I was on before YouTube kind of uprooted all of that, for the better, in my opinion. But I've always seen value in going outside of the home and having a career you love and enjoy and is fulfilling to you. I love working with kids. I loved going to school every day. And it never really crossed my mind that I would want to be a stay-at-home mom. And I get that some people, that's their dream. They love it. I think that's great. But it's really important to acknowledge, which is why I'm so happy you did, that that's not every woman's path. And I think it's so interesting that MLMs lean into this narrative so heavily. Like, don't you want to be home with your kids? Don't you want to quit your job? And I think it's important to every now and then remind MLM reps, like, hey, not everybody wants that. You're trying to pitch the dream here, but that's not everybody's dream. So thank you for saying that. I also remember feeling that my dad was constantly working, even when he was home. Even on vacation, he's always listening to some team call or prospecting people he meets. Not only did Amway not provide him with the early retirement and wealth they promised, they took him away from us, promising that it was just delayed gratification, trading a short time of hard work now for years of freedom and family time later. Never did he get any of that time back. I would like to address the one thing I see them as having received from this opportunity. While I know that many branches are predatory, my parents' upline and their upline are truly wonderful people. They stuck by my parents when they went through some hard times, when there would be no benefit to them, even possible detriment for doing so. I really believe they do care about my parents, believe the dream they are selling, and have no manipulative intent. They've drunk the Kool-Aid just as much as my parents have. Some phrases to look out for when trying to avoid Amway recruiters. The first one says, are you locked into what you're doing, or are you open to new opportunities? If you're not interested in the business opportunity, many people just join to get a discount on the great products. These are referred to as prosumers. Even if I never made a cent in this business, I would stay in for the great people I've met. You're just replacing products you already buy from someone else with products from your own business. Financial freedom and time freedom. Thank you for including this list. This is very helpful because there are a lot of buzzwords in here that can help clue you into if someone's trying to pitch you for Amway or not. Independent business owners are also encouraged to use products to draw you in, particularly the Body Key meal replacement bars, XS energy drinks, twist tubes to flavor your water and give extra health boosts, and Perfect Water with its extra oxygenation, as they are easy to carry and give away samples of. To this day, my parents still believe that Amway is the answer. I get products, usually makeup or skincare, for my birthdays and Christmas. Every time I'm at their house, they have to have me try whatever the newest product is. I've had to be careful as they now push their flavored water and vitamin supplements on my kids, the gummy versions. I don't think that at this point they will ever leave. They are too invested. And if they left without becoming a millionaire, that would mean they failed or made a poor choice for decades. At least they are respectful of my choice to not become an independent business owner. I hope that my story will help people think about if this is something they really want for their family. If you have any questions about Amway in the future and feel I might be able to provide any answers, I would be more than happy to help. I can talk about terms, PV/BV, ranks, reward tiers, incentive trips, etc. Keep doing the wonderful work you do. Thank you for taking the time to write out this story, because I think that your perspective as the child of somebody who's been in Amway for 30 years is really, really interesting to listen to on all the different ways that it's impacted you over the course of your life. And I really appreciate that you did write in this story and that you could share it with us, because it gives a lot of great insight into how these MLMs operate and how they affected you as the child of two parents who were deeply, deeply involved with it. This story says, "Hi Hannah, Zeke, and Cooper. My name is Willow. I'm 25 years old, and boy, do I have a good Young Living story for you. I'm so ready." My mom has been into a couple of MLMs over the past 10 years. I had no idea that Young Living was an MLM until I started watching your channel. I'll just cut right to it. When my mom first started Young Living, we had packages coming daily full of oils. She had signed up to be a distributor, went to parties, held parties, and went on a big kick of only using oils. My mom struggles really bad with arthritis and fibromyalgia, so I understand her desperation and wanting to try anything to help with her pain. I'm not sure how she discovered Young Living or who signed her up, but I just know that it was a nightmare. Update, my mom has since dropped 100 pounds, cut out all sugar, and started working out 5 days a week, and is now in the best shape she's ever been in. Her fibromyalgia and arthritis are also now under control. I'm so happy to hear all of that. She bought every book, planner, and product that she could. I remember seeing her sit at the kitchen counter all day for days, studying what each oil is supposedly able to cure. It was so bad that she started making me learn it too, just in case something ever happened to her and she was unable to talk. My mom went as far as even having her own business cards and making my sister and I carry a bunch of them around to pass out to anybody that we saw. I live in a small town, so word got out fast that my mom had the magic cure-all. I'm not sure if my mom enlisted anybody, but I know she had a lot of clients that she sold to. This one client stands out to me the most, and it breaks my heart. I'm just going to call this lady Carol because I don't know her real name. Carol has a daughter who has Alexander's disease. At the time that my mom was in the thick of it, Carol reached out to my mom looking for help because her daughter was on hospice. I'm not sure if my mom even knew that these oils didn't really do anything, but she happily sold them to this lady who is desperate to save her daughter's life. Surprisingly, a miracle happened and her daughter got better and was able to be released from hospice. Apparently, Carol had been using all these oils on her daughter, and the doctor said they didn't know why she suddenly got better, but that Carol needed to keep on doing whatever she was doing. I don't know if it was the oils or if it was just a coincidence, but you better believe that Young Living took it and ran with that. I can only imagine that that's exactly what happened, and I think it's a good thing that you pointed out that who knows if this was a coincidence or not. This is kind of the issue we run into when we get personal testimonies of people using these products, because there's no documented proof or scientific studies that using these oils in this way can cure this kind of disease. But for whatever reason, something was going on with Carol's daughter in which she was able to be released from hospice. Was it the oils? Maybe. I kind of doubt it. I'm pretty skeptical of essential oils when they're used for anything other than aromatherapy, really. I think that the health claims can get severely out of hand and we enter into a really dangerous territory when we start believing that they have the power to do things like cure diseases. And that's kind of the thing, is it's one person and it's one person's testimony. And I'm sure that they can take that one testimony, coincidence or not, and they are going to run with it. They are going to claim, hey, she took these oils or she used them in this way and look at what happened as a result. And that's a really huge issue that we run into with MLM products, especially when they claim to have some sort of health impact, such as an essential oil kind of product or a supplement or something of that kind. And the issue is that a lot of these health claims are formulated from personal testimony and they kind of run wild. There's no concrete evidence that these oils actually cured anything at all, but because this one person had that experience of using something and seeing a certain kind of result, of course that's going to be the claim that they run with, and of course that's going to be their selling point from here on out. It makes me so mad that this company was able to convince this already struggling mother that all she had to do was rub some oils on her daughter's foot. Not to mention, these oils stink really bad to me, so I feel sorry for her daughter because she probably smelled like a really bad meadow. Carol was extremely grateful, and I do know that her daughter is still alive to this day. Whether it was the oils or not, I know it made Carol feel less helpless. I am physically disabled with a rare condition similar to cerebral palsy, but it's not. I have issues with limited mobility and extremely tight muscles. I understand where my mother was coming from. She just wanted to help as much as she could, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I was taking every pill that had weird oil combinations under the sun. The after burps of these pills was horrendous, but I did it for my mom because I wanted her to feel like she was doing something important. I had no idea at the time that I was just enabling her. I can't say it is the oils that did anything for me or not. I'm still disabled, so I'm gonna go with the fact that they probably did nothing. It also caused tension in the marriage with my mom and dad. My dad is a farmer. He isn't around all that much, especially during farming season. I'm assuming that she saw all these other women with the dream life and saw their husbands supporting their wives, so she felt like my dad wasn't doing enough. Now looking back, they probably supported their wives because they were making a lot of money off of people's misery. My dad, just trying to be a supportive partner, would go to his meetings with other farmers and tell them about my mom's products. He would go in with about 10 business cards and pass them out to anybody that he could. For the longest time, we all used Thieves toothpaste, Young Living body wash, face wash, shampoo, cleaning supplies, chapstick, and baby wipes. I'm happy to announce that we no longer use as many products. I think my mom still has some of the cleaning supplies, and I know that when she redid her room, she had her oils in mind and had custom shelving for them all. She has so many oils that she needs to use 2 of those over-the-closet shoe hanging racks with the clear compartments to put all of her oils in. I know my sister uses tea tree oil from time to time for pimples, and I have used Thieves for cold sores at times. While we are not Young Living free entirely, I will take what I can get. Then my mom got sucked into Monat. I think she still uses their shampoo, but she switched all of her hair care products over to Monat. My mom was convinced that it was helping her with her hair growth. Maybe it was, but I'm not sure. I do know that she used to take her Monat products over to the hair salon whenever she would go to get her hair done, and the hairdresser whispered to me that the products did not do as great as my mom thought. One of the local hair salons in my town announced that all of their products would be Monat only. Okay, I have a couple of thoughts here. The first one being that the hairdresser kind of mentioned to you on the side, like, these products aren't doing all the wonders that your mom thinks they are. This is not the first time I've heard this from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to hair care and hair products. If I'm remembering correctly, I saw this clip. This is months and months and months ago. I don't even know if I could go back and find it at this point, but it was of a couple of hairdressers in a hair salon showing us how they were struggling so hard to add color to somebody's hair who had been in the routine of using Monat products. It was like they were trying to dye their hair or color it, and the hair would not accept the dye. Like, it was just rejecting any kind of product that was put onto it. Now, I don't know what I'm talking about in this department. I have no expertise whatsoever, but I just thought it was very interesting to see someone who does know what they're talking about kind of showing us, look, I'm trying to perform this treatment on this person's hair, and their hair is rejecting the treatment. Again, the argument could be made, this is a personal situation, this is a personal testimony, maybe this was a one-off kind of case, who knows. But this part of your story did stick out to me when the hairdresser is kind of like, hey, by the way, your mom thinks these are doing great for her, but they're really not. And then the second thing I noticed and wanted to point out is that you said one of your local hair salons is now announcing that they will be using products from Monat only. This is interesting to me because that signals to me that perhaps the person who owns the salon, runs the salon, is in Monat herself. Again, this is not the first time I've heard of something like this happening. I do know of several other salon owners who have joined Monat and then have brought those products into their salon to use on their clients. And I think that that's kind of their way of expanding their clientele and maybe even trying to recruit people into the business opportunity, which could be problematic because let's not forget that Monat has had lawsuits in the past for the kinds of damage that it's done to people's hair and scalp, specifically hair loss lawsuits. So that might be a recipe for a disaster if you're having clients come coming into your salon and you're only using Monat products on them, we have significant proof that it doesn't work that well for a variety of hair types. And there is a pretty significant population of people out there who don't react well to Monat products. So it has me kind of wondering if using those products primarily in the salon setting is going to do more harm than good, actually. And once again, back to poor sweet Carol. She got roped in as well. She was told that if she used only Monat on her daughter, that it would be less chemicals going into her body and she wouldn't have to wash her hair as often. I do know Carol said that her daughter hated washing her hair and it was a real battle to do. So she would use just about anything she could to make the process easier for her daughter. My mom has not been roped into another scam as of right now, and I'm really hoping it stays that way. Luckily, I am now well educated and I might be able to talk her out of anything that's an MLM. Thank you for reading this and give all the love to Zeke and Cooper for me. So what you're saying here about Carol now being roped into Monat as well under the assumption that it's putting less chemicals into her daughter's body, that signals to me, ding, 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 that's a vulnerability that's been preyed on. I can only imagine how hard that would be to be the mother of a child that is medically vulnerable. Of course you want to do whatever you can in that child's best interest to keep them as healthy and safe as possible. And the fact that somebody told her that using Monat products is going to be better than other shampoos because it has less chemicals, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, I think. Monat has some pretty insane product claims. I've never heard, though, that it has less chemicals than other hair care products on the market. I've seen the ingredient lists for Monat shampoo and conditioner. They're still a mile long, like all other hair care products are, with most things you can't pronounce. I would argue that Monat products have just as many chemicals as other hair care products do. And believe it or not, most things are chemicals. Water itself is a chemical. And to me, this feels like fear-mongering. This feels like someone saw Carol with a medically vulnerable child and said, hey, I have something that's cleaner, safer, healthier for you. Whether or not that's actually true, it doesn't really matter if it's true or not. Carol took that claim and she bought into it. Your story has so many examples of people's vulnerabilities being preyed on, and I will never not take an opportunity in these stories to point that out, because a shampoo can never just be a shampoo. It has to be the better shampoo, the more chemical-free shampoo. An essential oil can never just be an essential oil. It's the thing that cures someone's disease. And these are the kinds of claims that non-MLM companies would never make. They can't make those claims. But when you have a company in which anybody and everybody can sign up to be a salesperson for, those claims have the ability to be completely unregulated. Yes, there are some rules that state, no, you can't say these things, but ultimately it's a very difficult thing to actually monitor and manage and regulate and keep people under control. And that's a huge selling point for MLM products, and that's a massive way that the reps of these companies are able to sell, because they're preying on the vulnerabilities of others very directly, saying person to person, these oils cured this disease, or this shampoo is the best one to use for whatever reason. And that puts us into very dangerous territory when it comes to how these products are sold. And with that, my friends, it's all the stories I have for you for this MLM Horror Stories video. Again, if you have your own that you would like to send in, please don't hesitate to do that. I can never have too many, and the more stories I get, the more of these videos we can make. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next one real soon.